Yes. Number look. No. Number sit. Just wait. What? Is that the one? Got it. Small logo.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Before going ahead, can we please start with prayers in our own different ways? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On here today, we have the national executive members. We have Honorable 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏𝒆𝒍, Councillor Bine Morong, Honorable Dr. Lamin Mane, Women's Wing Vice President Ajaratu Binta Toure, Deputy Party Leader Aji Mariam B. Seka, Mr. Larry Cisse is here as well. We have the Deputy Administrative Secretary, Honorable Yakumba Jaite. We have the Regional Chairman, Fallon Sonko, the Second Deputy Chair Lady, Honorable Bajan Kamara, Haji Swane, Jarai Fanyinke. Thank you all for joining us here today. We are gathered here to address a matter of significant importance of the United Democratic Party indeed to the national as we approach the December 5th election, as you know. Coalition talks are currently underway, and it's crucial for us to articulate our party's positions. Today, we will outline our stance on this ongoing coalition discussion and clear our intention moving forward. Thank you. I hereby present the party leader, the Secretary General, the flag bearer, and the former Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency A.M. Alhaji Hussein Numukunda Dabo. Thank you.
I think Madam Moderator should stop referring to me as His Excellency because you know, I'm told that when people say His Excellency, I think my report will Thank you very much, Moderator. Without you, we thank you for partnering with us. Gentlemen of the press and distinguished attendees, our party, the United Democratic Party, has always believed that the future of this country is greater than the ambition of any individual or any single party. With this conviction, we responded to an invitation by the National Alliance for Democracy, NAD, the Alliance for Democracy and Development, ADD. We responded to an invitation to a coalition talk that was initiated by this party. We want to here register our greatest appreciation to this thoughtful decision taken by ADD to convene or invite political actors to a coalition talk. We attended these talks in the company of 7 registered political parties and 14 CSOs and political movements. Throughout our engagement with this effort, we were very constructive, we are very honest, we are very sincere. We never minced words, we were never ambiguous in what our position has always been. United Democratic Party has always believed that a party-led alliance is the proper foundation of any coalition. It is the viable foundation. It is the foundation that guarantees success at the polls. We have always believed in that. But in any situation, you do have contrary views, and we are very open to receiving and listening to other views that do not support a party-led alliance. There was, of course, a proposal for a candidate-led alliance. For the past several weeks, we have engaged in the discussions of which of the two models best suits us. And we must agree that the proponents of the models advance reasons why they think their proposal or model is the most viable one. We of the United Democratic Party have brought up history that in the past we have seen a candidate-led alliance in this country going to the polls, and the consequences of the victory or electoral success of that alliance, we all have seen it. It is independent. The beliefs of the candidate prior to him being selected as the candidate-led to lead the alliance of the party-led coalition. His history, cannot forget his history, cannot forget his connection. So we do not believe that independence is secured merely by resigning from your party. We, of course, have advanced that the model throughout the world, universally accepted model, is that pre-election alliances are built around the party with the largest membership in the country. We have shown advocates of alliances in this country. In 2001, we accepted to go into an alliance. In 2006, 2011. So we have never really given our back to a united front that is intended to remove the incumbent, but not only to remove the incumbent, but also to ensure that the system is put in place that warrants, that a system put in place that really the Gambian people really are yearning for. We do not want a situation or a system to be created in the country where parties will go into alliances for the purpose of defeating a government. We always want to have an alliance that will put in place a system that affords every party the opportunity to contest elections on its own merit and seek office on its own merit, rather than being an appendage to another party. That is what we believe must happen, and that can only happen when there is a change of system. And changes of systems do not come by themselves. Systems change through the agency of human beings. And we as political actors would have to be the agents for such system change. Of course, there is the view that figures don't matter. But if figures don't matter, why are you asking for a united front? You are asking for a united front because you believe that that will give you a bigger picture, a bigger figure that you can really pull. So if figures don't matter, then I don't know what matters. But we engage them constructively, and we've tried to convince our colleagues that the viable option is for a party-led and not a coalition, not a candidate-led coalition. That is a fundamental principle that the United Democratic Party wasn't deviating from. And we didn't say that United Democratic Party must lead the party-led coalition. We said it must be a party-led coalition. And if there's an agreement that it's a party-led coalition, then of course, other things like your strength and so forth would become considerations in whether which party should lead or which party should not lead. But apart from the fact that our position was not accepted, there was a move. In fact, not a move. In fact, a move has been adopted, a position has been adopted in setting up certain eligibility criteria. And I think, for me, it is an insult to really determine my eligibility on reasons other than those provided for by the Constitution. For several years, when we have been in this country, managing the affairs of this country, and serving in government in this country, our competence, our credibility, our integrity has never been called into question by anybody. The United Democratic Party believes that its chosen candidate, no candidate outmatches that one in terms of integrity, in terms of character, in terms of service to the nation, in terms of patriotism. None of them outmatches that. But one of the eligibility criteria, and I'm sure when I read out to you, gentlemen of the press, you will know that that is directed at Hussein Udaba, no other person. And that eligibility criteria is loyalty to the coalition. They say the candidate must have no verifiable history of sabotaging coalition efforts, undermining joint candidates, or defecting for personal gain during critical coalition moments. Gentlemen of the press, since 2017 or 2018, those who oppose the United Democratic Party have carried the message throughout the country, throughout the world, that the coalition 2016 failed because of the United Democratic Party. That United Democratic Party sabotaged the coalition 2016, that is why it failed. So you can see quite clearly that this Hussein Udaba and no other person. How can we accept such a criteria for selection of a flag bearer, even assuming we agree to a party, to a candidate led? How can we agree to that? One will process selection process. We'll be asked questions, didn't you do this for coalition 2016? And then we are put again at explaining and debunking the false statements that they have been bandying all about. But another criteria, which I think is contradictory to their party-led, or to their coalition-led, candidate-led alliance, is grassroots connections. They say the candidate, he or she must show, of course, naturally it would be his own party. It could not be a party to which he does not belong. So you can say that even though they do not accept party-led, but they realize that parties are very important in this whole exercise. If you cannot maintain relationship with your party structures, then your candidacy, the viability of your candidacy is certainly questionable. So apart from anything, the eligibility criteria for us goes contrary, or let me just contrary, does not conform with the Constitution, we accept all conditions that the laws of the Gambia provide for a candidate wishing to contest in presidential elections. We are not going to accept criteria, eligibility criteria, crafted by people who we know in the past have been calling for people to get together and fight UDP and NPP. We have them here. We cannot accept their eligibility criteria. So you can see that from the word go, the so-called CMC, was crafting rules that are skewed against UDP, to the disadvantage of UDP. That is quite clear. It is quite clear that those who claim to be the mediators have themselves expressed their preferences for types of models of coalitions or alliances in this country, even before they became members of the CMC. We have seen some who attended meetings of meetings of this coalition, who were introduced as belonging to members of political party, but then suddenly metamorphosed into something else. We have seen that. So from the word go, we realized that there was something that is not completely all right, completely right. But despite that, we are not pessimists. We are optimistic. We believe that with all of this, we could still engage in constructive discussions. We could exchange views. We could engage as reasonable people and come to a conclusion that it best suits this country. You want to have a governing council. Why a governing council? When you have a constitution and other laws in the country that determines how the government should be run, that determines what powers and what discussions are vested in the president. And you want to tell me that you want to have a better constitution, but yet the constitution that you have in the country, for the time being, you have to disregard that. And you tell me that that is the right thing to do. UDP does not subscribe to political expediency at the expense of the nation's interest. UDP does not subscribe to political expediency at the expense of constitutionalism. UDP does not do that, and UDP will never do that. Because for us, accepting these things would be contrary to public policy. That you agree to be governed by a set of rules that is not provided for by the Constitution. I agree that when governments come in, you can really try to abide by traditions that are universally accepted without really having them legislated on. But you cannot really put certain things for selection of a presidential candidate that you know will run contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, and upon being elected, you take advantage of the situation and say, look, the Constitution does not provide for this, so therefore I am not going to abide by it. That is not UDP. We don't accept things and then renege on them. We don't do that. And that is why, one of the reasons also, we reject the candidate-led coalition. There is, of course, power sharing. Power sharing, everybody agrees that in any coalition, any alliance of political parties, you will talk about how you share, offices. I don't want to use the word power. How you share offices. You cannot really forge an alliance without addressing that. But should that be the prime focus? And that has been what the majority of the proponents at that discussion, that was a fundamental, approach. What is it there for us? What is in there for us, for me, is the Gambia and nothing else. We cannot start thinking of sharing offices amongst ourselves when we have not addressed key issues, or we have not set ourselves the task of addressing key issues such as unemployment, the worsening economic situation, the corruption in the country, and other things that are retarding our progress in this country. Those are issues fundamental that have to be discussed first and foremost, and then agree on those things, and then you come to the last bit of it. How do we share offices when we are elected? We see some of the suggestions on the sharing offices. For us, they run contrary to what our fundamental belief has been. We want to keep civil service, governance offices, out of the reaches of political parties. We want them to operate, governors operate, purely as civil servants in this country, not as representatives of political parties or government in any region. But then you want to allocate governors to party A, party B, so and so, making them political appointees. And that is why today our governors are operating in ways and manners that satisfy the desires of the ruling government, because they are based in place and not what is really in the best interest of the country. That is why today, when a governor sees or hears an alcalo being associated with a political party, opposing political party, they remove it from office. That is what we should stop in this country. But it's one of the things that there's one of the things that's proposed, in fact adopted by the majority of the people attending this discussion. That is unacceptable in UDP. What also is not accepted in UDP is the selection process, the voting. You want to put UDP after investing 30 years in the politics of this country, having structures in every part of this country, having members of the National Assembly, having representatives in the National Assembly, having mayors, councillors. We want to put them at the same level as a CSO or a political movement that was just formed in 2026. We want to put them on the same level. Is that fairness? We believe we want to have a coalition. We want to have an alliance, but an alliance that is built on fairness, an alliance that is built on honesty, an alliance that truly reflects the democratic values of our country, an alliance that recognizes the strength of political parties. You cannot equate UDP with a CSO just registered in 2016. You cannot equate UDP with a movement that is just forming. Some of them, you don't. When they tell you, some of them you don't even know who they are. I am not in any way demeaning any of this, but we are talking about realities. And gentlemen of the press, I want to make this one thing clear. We'll be very unambiguous about it. If any of the political parties that are engaged in this discussion have the same political strength of UDP, they will slap us if we UDP tell them that, look, we have to be candidate-led. They will slap us. They will consider us as people probably suffering from some mental syndrome that is incomprehensible. How can a party with representatives in the National Assembly, with representatives in the councils, which has survived in this country for 30 years, against all odds. Its leadership tested and proven, consistency, sincerity to the nation. Want to compare them with parties that, or movements and parties that are just sprouting up now? We reject it. And we reject it for those reasons, and I think any reasonable person will really agree that rejecting such a proposal is the most sensible thing to do. Acceding to such a proposal for United Democratic Party, if we do so, we will alienate all our supporters. And let me say that we are not in this thing because we desperately want to be president of this country. No. We are in this thing because we want to see a better Gambia. And we believe that a better Gambia can only be achieved through a party-led alliance. That party-led alliance will address the needs of this country. That party-led alliance will address the wants of this country and the desires of this country. It is that party-led alliance that will fight corruption in this country, as in fact the party who is advocating to have a party-led alliance is the party that has been fighting consistently against corruption in this country since 1996. All others that have come on, all others that are speaking against corruption today are only repeating what we have said for the past 30 years and will continue to say. And we did so at a time when talking against corruption in this country was an anathema, because you risk the chance of being taken to Bambadinka. You didn't care for Bambadinka. And we spoke against the use of this country, and we continue to do so. To equate us with people who just want to go to the negotiating table to see what ambassadorial appointment I can have, whether I could be a consul general, whether I could be a governor, to negotiate with them and agree to those things. I think that runs contrary to our conviction. And we have said at that meeting, we believe that if we are to fail, we must fail by our principles. Now, if we are to fall, we are to fall by our principles. And if we are to survive, we will survive by our principles. We will not really throw our principles because we want to be in office. That is not the UDP belief. That is not UDP conviction. UDP's conviction is that you have to get office through legitimate means, just not through political expediency. And gentlemen of the press, with all this, the United Democratic Party has, after carefully considering all these issues, have been involved in 14 weeks discussions with our colleagues to forge an alliance that will really remove Barrow, that we believe will have to remove Barrow from office. After all this, after really holding our hands in the preparation of our campaign materials, because we couldn't prepare any campaign materials, that is only confined to UDP, not knowing what sort of alliance we would have. Having in fact lessened or reduced our political engagements, active political engagement, having reduced it, all because we just didn't want to go out and say UDP is the party. After all that, and we did it for good reason, we now have come to the very regrettable and unavoidable decision that we are pulling out of the ADD coalition initiative, the Alliance for Democracy and Development. We are pulling out of that initiative. There are other coalition initiatives, and we are very much part of that initiative. We'll continue to participate in the discussions of in the discussions initiated by APEX, and hope that we will be able to reach a reasonable compromise amongst participants. But in the meantime, I am calling on all other political parties who think alike like the United Democratic Party, who have the desire to salvage this country, to come and join the United Democratic Party, so that we build an alliance that will be formidable, an alliance that will stand up to Barrow and his so-called Grand Alliance, and defeat them. You know we can't do it, because Barrow and his Grand Alliance, we are contesting against UDP as a single party. And you see what we have done. We didn't win office, but you see how much we are affected their electoral ambitions. We've shown that we alone could do it. But now if you have other political parties to join us, the task will be much easier. And then together, we will build the Gambia that is the want and desire of all who are patriotic. A Gambia that will fight corruption. A Gambia that will see nepotism through the back door. A Gambia that will place value on merit. A Gambia that will ensure that our young people are employed. A Gambia that will ensure that the farmers' produce are bought. A Gambia that will treat the farmers better than civil servants, its civil service. How can you imagine the president giving a promise that's intended to secure votes that will increase salaries by 30%. When the average farmers own produce, the price of their produce has remained stagnant for the past 3 years. Not only stagnant for the past 3 years, but we are in the rainy season, and government is shamelessly saying we have paid the $1.6 million owed to the farmers in the middle of the rainy season. You know, this is not a government that really is willing to address the problems of the farmers, and this is what United Democratic Party and any prospective allies of it are willing to do in this country. Give the farmers their due, in fact, give them the premium prominence in this country than any other sector of this country. Gentlemen of the press, it is hard for me to really make this announcement, but it's reality. We cannot just go on pretending that things will work out when we know that the positions are irreconcilable. There is no use to really go on with the negotiation. The only sensible thing to do is really disengage and let those who believe in a candidate-led alliance go ahead and do their own selection of their own flag bearer. And those who believe in party-led, we appeal all of you will come, we discuss, and I'm sure we will reach an agreement that is for the good of all the parties in that alliance and for the good of this country. I thank you all. I think maybe when I'm
Thank you, Party Leader, His Excellency Alhaji Ousainou Numukunda Dabo, the flag bearer of the United Democratic Party, and of course the President-in-Waiting come December 5th, 2026. Thank you, the media houses as well, and thank you, Party Leader, for your comprehensive statement. And now we move to question and answers. And please try to keep your questions short and precise. Thank you.
Listeners. My name is Adam Falera. I'm working for 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒏 TV and Home Digital. Dalam perjalanan kau kelani mandiri kau nak mandiri kau lah. Baru sini kemana-mana wala umat kumpul di mana aku anak penandu tak kumpul. Jadi kuru family kuru na lokalis na. Ia lalu jadi mana aku mandiri kau pola konstitusi kota kita. One moment already, I'm for data to political stand and stand and compare running from the media and Borneo. I'm for yet the planning on the test, young long time. When was I young, ya test me to a parasmal and I told them to I say, people in the nose of many. I decided, young one of Ipi boleh berjalan, ada tiga menadi. Ada polisi kakak lebih begini. Kok ada yang ini, ada yang ini. Ia bilang ini boleh selalu pun. Selalu akan berkumpul di dulu. Ini di masa pendana. Kok pada promosi baik.
Bari yamira ni ko men yimbe jabula tiloto boy lam majanto ba kada asiyata ba barbeto isa akumo kummalu insol fodron wolon ka fo gamol tento men yalon ka fo rekta ADD la nyaton kolti malik camara anyi mereal soto ka fo ko patiolo ya kafu nyoma kuna kachake si Masakunda men bijanto si abondino nyamen na Masakunda lo mayalo ka ko bekala Gambian kol aju jar langti UDP nak ngene mang ko di kilirola kiliro men ko ka fukali ngake kilinti bawo hanin to fan kuma samena United olan kan kiliya be ngake kilinti to kiliro te kala ka ngake kilinti nan ko di wala banak tata nyin ka chatole momo ote yaje ka ko menya ta kel menya kafonya te kala nyame momo ni la mirela tata dol tata je iko na kafu nyoma bari be men tombonna asike moti me yalon kafo ko abe la patio abe bolotole abe kala independent leti intel ko al nga kafu nyoma na tombondiro ke mola memba bola patio kono Potata ke patiwa patiti, member balaokono. But of course, ningofo, wana be ni ne fola ka ko ante laftal de alientel tombo. Ni da ko rokna ka ko ay bo patiol kono. Is finance na ko am falenti do. Alina patio tombo pour ko nyaton kaya. Bar kambe man ke wala. O kambe balia woto o mo kulati me yalu ka ko sa ko sulo molati. Allah nyanta kala al hala jumalto. Nalal halonya nal man d'accord ala mamira ko ko tambe jata d'accord bali akata to mo menadro otumo lon namira janjang e kebar UDP ko hanide te janjana de han hanibi na kacha ngai ngonyo ngokan nganya fo Data, ye fansu sartol dada, ke nati, kavako, mol nyanta, war sartol timmandilale, jani isita, ke candidate order. A sartol siata bakin. Adunia ju befan, dolu, islaf la jelelale. Kaduka mang, amanke kuti, ma yanon kaya wele, mosi me kaduko, niko competence. Jangan kau patili dan banko kambi. Mereka banko nyinenga. Jangan mereka competent. Ayam competent ale. Ada ni mol mel fala benyola. Waliya do kaf kamari competent. Wo sika to. Ni ko integrity daji ko. Patili da momo funta ko kotafta banko nyaton kayala. Imari ila daji ko. Ifang beson nyina kafko ila daji ko sahatale inim mel fana denta nyola. Fo itabe ni ko men ni ne kaftema wal finance central kaf ko itala daji ko obedi wo ita daji ko nyata jumale be CMC member fula kaf ko misa dabo daji ko mumneti wala misa daji ko misa dabo la no ay mune no jumale be ko men sofa bari kam men fo don kaf ko adu nga fo jetole du men tan ko mod politician de nyim banko kam men sa ko atala daji ko sahata usen dabo daji nga fo ede ko politician de nyim banko kan me yalon ka ko asafa ko ate doku no nyim katami misadabula modi jam men safa ko ate lafta nyim banko la katami misadabula so al kanyi kumol men kate nyim kumalati amam mana soko kumalam ni be mana soko barbitu ni man lafi iman laf garo ba kadu kay lo sartol kono iko for dalil verifiable evidence olan kabako serialo mena kabako isato nya yandi no kabako tamari men lafta kake candidate oti party led candidate iket maketa molti me yalon kabako imon kuke me yalon kabako coalition la lonya yokuke me yalon kabaka yoti nyale yalon kabako coalition 2016 kabrin 3 years 5 years fangada loda ngaluwa fo adumbi bebo luwa fo kadde kako 5 years lo wel ka fo ko nim president resign no president resign no but na resign ta vice president le batala so ye memira ka ko be election kala o man soto luwa mo provide for itala miralia ban savo molie ka ko dukare baldan alta ale constitution ali alfan karandiala wala aleta molia melia mele constitution ya karan ya alkaran diala ya lon diala kana diam lal intelu sanyi tan lulu anin saba mbe lwa ko na janto sanyi tan lulu saba kono constitutional cases men nyim banko kam akuma ba me ndela na beke so tempo me ya lon ka fo anin lwa tamta mantra talentali kuma fo kam be men fo kam ku sahari nam so wo ibe jumale ma woto eba usenda wala ma anin santa ko ngata candidate le ay ba fala ko ha ita ko 3 years jantu ita ko 3 years jan ita ko 5 years jan so ita le wo coalition ita le sabote wada de palazzo le so ngalon ka ko wo yoni wo wulin din dala ka ba bi ngan dele de man fem fo o don ko ni ma ran ka ko luwaye mem fo al ngata mawdam ba da ni yo ti bare lo sa ton fanal ko na fo ko isike moti me yalon ka fo ko particular structures ini constant contact sotle so isn't that as an independent candidate honey equal in the party of the pocket does it make any sense among sense make at all why I can't have a came here and yam fun what if I'm whatever masa so to objeto na fo ko ni beton bon rokela bele be equal la vote la UDP ni movement me yaram ka ko kunun namo ya lo no be ka nya na sembola de ngana america ko mu do ya role de america ko wa manke kutlindinti lafta nga kafu nyoma bana nga kafu nyoma to nya kan al nga kafu nyoma kana ke nyoke tote bari ko nga kafu nyoma UDP ngali ketu nkontel te ketula na fahamu rota mitawala le nkontel intersona ko hani stay hani fon ko stay reserve positions key stakeholders ñol na ki mo fo di mallo wodi ban tam stakeholders ñol mela lon ka ko wala ko telam CMCT mediation molo il a sa place au dit les vents là député bunto kadi ko 53 le bijeto e ko 52 will contested but one seat ni obedi la stakeholder le o stakeholder bu ñente itellom so telbe place ni la through this medium ngoje kam ko manke silati député tan ni sabati tallu ni sabale banko kan o député tan tallu ni saboni political parties ñol o femfel lafta ñantale ye law ya contest bari hani député al fanyanta lola ñama amang address adum ben problème wal nat la ñaado ngaje ka fo ko kacabita ka ñamen ñing karta ñing lokun tandi nano be ayake nintel ngam famuta ñanta na political activities ñol mel bekela ngabe put on hold na campaign materials ñolo medada bawo nin coalition on nat na so be part of that coalition ila campaign material be falin na le so man so do ke the batun rola ko sai kala mol moy ka fa ko ni men sonta nyinna jasonga ni men so leta asan mati yole fo on West Coast ko ni lafta ni men lafta ni ya trajeto ni men malafiata dal ngaja ko malaf so bitale itala ya bitale ono mte bitale so wala yatin nabi ko ngana ngafo mole ka fa ko asan mati ko ni men malafiata so bitale lo ko ko ndambian ko mema ka ko bitale mel bijeto ya jube ibe fankela nyame bare mbekiliro kela moko tanla melalam kafo ko ini UDP la mirali al kata kilente ya banko ja nyame UDP banko ja nyame banko jo nyale ya nyame alliance on nyata kala nyame UDP ya nyaaje nyame fana ya jo nyale ko alena ngakafu nyoma mfana alliance oke ko na alliance o nani UDP alliance oke mbe baro mbabo ndinola le kat UDP kilinne baro engage janto yamera bolin robe kala nyama kam ko nya kamandi ko man fa nyoboro man ko ga badi mboy wala kada badi mboy la kada yalo yamera ka ko ben supalale wodo bar badi mboy la kada so nyin na de kaftama sarlan kat ka ko be baro na la molu be bon la de e ko be juslare ko ha opposition coalition talks has flooded but not flooded the Gambia's commitment Kata Bondi has never flooded waduna bekere. So file ko ngani tamo me ke bolon ko Gambian ko ya itande ka ko baro be bolale. Mol ka in the provinces bu ka ko UDP di baro e ka ko Gambian ko versus baro. So baro kana bi de ka ko nindal bota ni NAD initiative to that is the answer for him. What is there will ensure that the victims of honey Gambian call are still against him. And Gambians will still be against him. So, in Karasar, but Namaka Vice President, Namaka Foreign Minister, Gambia not alone. Gambia not alone. Dalanga Susarang ni Safrota, Naku Fasanata Low, Namut Lola, Ninyata, for more Borna Canania. Formolian lahiri iko $1.7 billion ibadi lana ntalanga doku so mo mo na ko la competence Vice President can you women enterprise fund for wallahi ni to nya bekere mambure njay ni anyi nika abafule ka ko Mr. Dabole ji push through to make sure ka ko ni women's enterprise fund a lot of Bangkok at ntalanga ta mambure njay force ka ko Gambia government counterpart fund fire put in the budget Ngol kanya manko. Kaja ko the new Minister of Women's Affairs, Gender Women's Affairs established. Ana naman kanya bangko kan Minister eta budget negotiations ayake. Ana naman ke permanent secretary Jordan. But what more I was Minister responsible for Women Affairs. I had to go a new ministry by my permanent secretary Mtata Getone to negotiate with the finance ministry. Puru ila budget nyanda kadu mala fefen kuntwala. A new ministry coming up. Natural wala tamena ni mol dila ala ro kunya bisala so fa do man digla ngadol melke kabri be man sakunda man sakunda tuma mena wo man ko ma important for ya do ngamira ngela question sansala abaraga well laba iko senelado ngo man sakunda na president ay kankularo ke ako abe do kulalo man sakunda do kulalo abe la jo kafula keme tansaba ku kende mirada kende kadu ko wo man sakunda do kulalo marsauto ni data marsauto ila kodo kamen samsan noye abuka ke sawote o man sakunda do kulalo wal ka tax jole kata marsauto ka fansa adama baro wuli keme lulu kadu wakare wala kadi ala fola do ngalo nini fonko nini 30% of 50 of 500,000 because about 150,000 current vocabulary la job 30% I think so huh? So that will be 650,000 about that at a money sana at a tulu sana kong dia tai nyao nya buka kong sang of the fence sana bari permanent secretary ya loke 30% dia le wobe kong sana le abi damal sa yo ay subo pesa abi mano sana le so no la jo kafuta kaste wodi bari ko ni bol la jo kafla mela la ka ko wala mo banko la do kulal fanti sedalado sanji saba ila tiyo dakilin no fana wal fana ina wal ko ma fal yol fana jube niko sen do kulal la jobe kafla by 30% 5% la fana lo ko jare alla sene femlo mfana mbasa na nyinanga mona akana ke $3,000 per metric ton comme membe ke sanji saba asfunya onya ayafa fana leko alla sene femlo alla tiyo mbasa na le toni wotono wuli woro anyanto le folo fana le so da ro fana si doko keno is sabar pour katiyo seno ni bako kadibo tiyo wala ni bako la ko kilo ko solo de tiyo wala bako la ko solo de atalamna biggest I mean, foreign exchange na export product. So fendila, mesin nyafa, isilafi, kasanoke. Tara bono kono nganyim bank fetaje. You know, in Nyamina, ngaja in Sierra North. Me alon ka ko si hectares and hectares. Me alon ka ko isi tiyo boku jeton jama soto, good yield. Ya export Gambia ya fanson but ano mangala merado ka ko ni civil servant ni na salary by 30% afananta be by 30%. That is their thinking when they forget in Unita Senela. So ekwabata bebe kerinde otomba jomma mamai azarun ka ko atelu ano matel ano baro matel atelako amobula mira la ko de atemna adoko jol ayol ko manal mira so arsalo bitung December 5 al nyanta menkela dembula bel mera li akono al sala al nyanta nyalti na wala ba jomma bitu abebul honestly that's what I said to you yes okay.
Please try to keep your questions shorter.
Sorry.
I said my name is 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒆𝒔 from Aspen. So in your statement, you highlighted that what is advocating for some here funds, but not that the So what is your response to those who are saying that you are supporting this? Because as a leader, this is the most important itself. And my second question is, you have also mentioned that you are corrupt sources. Yeah, we are not just that yesterday. once is this true? What we are saying, what is it?
The coalition what?
The coalition,
The coalition team.
in discussion, yes, they have promised to do. So I don't know if that is
Yesterday I also read in the papers that the coalition management committee is coming to meet me, but they have not met me. So that answers that question. Yes. So the other question is, it is believed that I support the party led, even though I'm not saying that UDP, but I support it with the view that UDP would lead. Well, that is an assumption. If it is agreed that it should be party led, and example, the Women's Popular Party accedes to a party led, and they come out with good reasons why the Women's Popular Party should lead this party-led coalition. We'll of course accept it. We have always said that it is not that we are saying that it must be UDP, but we say must be party-led. And of course, when it comes to selection, we'll put in our bid, just as any other political party would put its bid in. So we are not imposing ourselves on anybody, and we do not and we will not impose ourselves on anybody, So let that be clear. And let it also be clear that we do not find it in any way offensive. We do not find it in any way untenable for us to put forward unambiguously the position we hold on to. If others can hold on to their positions unambiguously, no one blames them. But you want to blame UDP for holding on to its own position, I don't think that is right. I don't think that is right. We have always respected positions held by other people and let other people also respect the positions held by us. And they must stop looking at us as people who are sabotaging coalition efforts in this country. Why aren't you saying those who do not accede to party-led alliance, why aren't you saying that they are sabotaging coalition efforts in this country? Why should it be UDP that should be carrying the blame? Why should UDP be demonized? I don't think it is right. But of course, that is politics. Throw the dart and filth on your opponent and see how will they shake it off. And we have been shaking off all this dart and filth, and we are very clean. I think that is very clear. Yeah? They are not asking questions. From? What did you want? One on the donors conference in Brussels. I think it was in May of 2018. Remember, I'm sure that about 9 years ago. I'm sure more than 9 years ago. Yalom Yamo the president of Yemenfo at the airport. I could call the minister of Yola. A baby temple. The dog woman. I could bury. Allah Hussein Dabo. Ani Ahmad Sani. The dog woman. Nanyi donors phone call. Better la beja la ba. Ako kodo menal kausota. Ani ni nono. Best answer la jeta. Dalangan. So wala nang kodo men sota jeto. na efforts nyolno baya no wala nanko nte dunna jama ko no the 50 million euro for agriculture to support agriculture within 24 hours ni amal sanen tata paris ngali jate jeto na alkala ni silol me fa lañu OIC silol me fa ni ko hayno sir lam na ya tara dunya be kono lamin sanen ela nga ko do funtini na ngana dale ala jambor so plant man bijeto dela nga do kun dela nga funtinda so dan wato man si follow meye meka man si follow banyalo kanyim membe fo ene ne amwere afo ko ani misada ba nyime ko tonyade ka ko dela nga ko do ene ne amwere afo di passer bridge sans so fa ene ne amwere afo kam misada ba me fo amake tonyade ntele tata with my shopping list to China. And I got this, not only got that, but also got debt relief for the Gambia. So new what was it, mga menke, amba fola le. But ila ni karole have not no, then you be fola jeto. Yeah, abaraka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abo. My name is Sinu from 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. So yesterday, the CMC chairman said that they have not received any official letter of withdrawal from the union, and he still considers UDP as part of the coalition. My question is, has the UDP submitted any letter of withdrawal officially to the coalition? If no, why?
Well, let me say, the CMC never invited me or never invited UDP to any coalition talk. It is the ADD that invited us to a coalition talk. And they, those who call themselves a CMC, they were invited by ADD to be part of the process. So if I'm to resign, even if it's required that I should send a written withdrawal, it is not to them that I will send it. I'll send it to the gentleman whom I really, I admire, I respect him, and I thank him for really giving me an opportunity to have some interactions with my colleagues, Mr. Kamara, for his insight, for his initiative. I thank him. So if I have to write any letter, it would be to Mr. Kamara of ADD, not to CMC. But I think when Mr. Martin went to coffee time and said, look, this is what we have agreed on, majority have agreed on, sometimes he liked to make it that it was unanimous, which is not. But then he will say majority, and sometimes you give the impression that it's unanimous. When he said, if those who do not accept this model should go away, and they know perfectly well that UDP does not accept that model, do you have to resign? Do you have to send any letter to them to resign? When you have already told us that you can go away if you do not accept this, do you have to tell you that we are going away? And you know that our position is party-led. But in any case, does this press briefing this morning, does it leave anybody in any doubt that UDP is no longer part of the ADD initiative? Does it leave anybody in doubt about that? So if they want to use procedural routes to question, to still maintain that we are members of the of this initiative, I think they are wrong. Nobody should be left in doubt that we are no longer part of it. Yes. Well, enterprise fund for the the enterprise fund may come World Bank for the support come. For enterprise funding, they your dog work wallet. Name Honorable 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. In fact, the cabinet paper, cabinet paper is present, and when it came to the funding, Honorable 𝒂𝒂 not a dog work but more World Bank representative at Dakar, and other we have regular meetings with them. And and got cabinet approval, and having got cabinet approval, the mechanism for Kadoku were put in place and were put in motion. So Women's Enterprise Fund, Mira, Gambia government caller, mo kotemba for kankafoko iteleta modi. Ngalo ne kavoko other funds lot sotale, mela no kavoko, more ko iteleta budget session. To make sure Kavoko was put in the budget. And Mamburenja, wherever he is, he can attest to that. Yeah. Funding more funding more well, the invitation because already Yalo the Kafoko in principle. Yalo the Kafoko in principle, PVP has agreed with us. In principle, you know that. So Kavoko, Dolphin Albinali, Kakafu PPP. And there's also a high likelihood Kavoko Dolbe aided the initiative to movements and so forth. High likelihood Kafka so Mantrata can on this thing alone. Injecta Kafka ni mall bags, the Dokunyol Sotlade, the Kunyol Mela Kafka Nila Bela Miraliam Kilinity, Be ye Kukla of Gambia. Amanke la faute dada manto par amula faute ngani yoto ada mula faute me alon ka ko na barol kudu ya itan
Thank you, Party Leader, His Excellency Alhaji Ousainou Mukunda Dabo, for that comprehensive statement that you give today. Thank you to the member of the press and to all those who attend today. Dedicate support, esteemed members of this press and the proud people of the Gambia. I want to conclude today by addressing the critical junction we find ourselves in. The United Democratic Party has always believed in strength, capability of our party to lead and to unite. As coalition talks progress, a fundamental difference vision has emerged. We firmly advocate for a party-led coalition, believing that our establishing structures provide tracking record and deep connection within the populace, providing the most robust foundation for effective governance and national progress. We have engaged in this discussion with the utmost sincerity, seeking a constituency that empowers a unified opposition. However, what we need is that this specific coalition talks is not a step down away from unity, but a reaffirmation of our commitment to a leadership model that we believe will best serve the Gambia. We must trust in the wisdom of the Gambian people to understand our position and to continue to stand with the United Democratic Party as we champion a vision of progress, self-realized, strong, and principled leadership. Therefore, I thank you all, the press media. Thank you. The press media, later on, the full text of the party leader statement will share with all the press houses. Thank you all for your kind attention. This brings us to the end of the program. Can we please pray before leaving? Thank you.
So this brought us to the end of the press conference, and I would like to discuss some of the percentage who we will have Honorable Mani. We would like to share some of your views about the coalition. You were the person doing the negotiation. Can you share some of your views?
Mic test.
Yeah, sorry. What we decided to do was to negotiate on the basis of the mandate that was given to us by the party, and that mandate was a party-led formula of coalition. When the coalition talks decided to go candidate-led, that was no longer consistent with our mandate, and we believe that this coalition should be party-led, not candidate-led. Candidate-led is what got us into this situation, so we don't want to repeat that. That's why we decided to opt out. We left the meeting, the coalition talks, and we went away. So now the party has formalized its position. Now we can talk a bit more about what we're going to do. So what we wanted to report to the party leadership about what they wanted us to do as a negotiating team. We came to report back to the party, and the party told us that was right. What we had so we're going to build our own coalition and move forward, getting ready for this election.
Yeah, but there were allegations that, in fact, this ADD coalition was initiated by the Democratic Party. What do you have to say? That allegation.
Well, there are people whose only agenda is hate UDP. Hate. Hate is not a political agenda. So they can say whatever they want. Malik Kamara, we have to give him credit. Malik Kamara needs to be given credit. He came out to negotiate a coalition agreement. When he came to see us, he said he's negotiating a coalition agreement. Will UDP be willing to come on board? He said they are willing to talk on every coalition agreement. He said he's inviting other parties. He invited them. And we all came to the meeting, and we started the meeting. At the first meeting, we were only 6 political parties. And after the meeting, more political parties and movements joined. But this is Malik's initiative, Malik Kamara and ADD. We supported it, just like there was an Apex initiative. Apex was not us either. They started Apex and we went in. This was Malik Kamara's initiative, and a very laudable initiative. We congratulate him. So if it failed, it's not because of Malik, it's because of the people who hijacked. People hijacked his meeting. People hijacked what he was doing. That's why it failed. But Malik did a wonderful job trying to get this to work. So the people who hijacked were the people who came in with the only decision that UDP was failed.
How did Martin, how did he become the spokesperson of ADD initiative? Because Martin was at Apex. I don't know whether he was at Apex. From there, initially he was not even part of the initial coalition discussion. But at the later part, we just saw in Martin and he became as the spokesperson. In fact, he becomes the vocal person of the coalition. How did this come about?
Martin came in because there was Mbalo, and Mbalo was not very consistent in his statements, and there were issues. So we thought maybe we should have somebody else speak for the coalition, and there were 4 of them. Ibrahim Abba was doing a good job as secretary. Mamadou Diba was doing a good job coordinating. He was the brains behind the whole coordination mediation committee. Mbalo was spokesperson and chairman. So we thought maybe instead of having spokesperson and chairman, he could be chairman, and Martin, the other 4th person, become spokesperson. But Martin is conflicted. Martin is not the right person who should have been there. Martin, this is a coalition mediation committee. He's supposed to mediate, but Martin had taken sides. Martin is conflicted. Talk to Larry Sise. Martin met us. We are 4 in a meeting. He came to me and told us, yeah, these coalition works are going well, but the problem is the double factor. I said, what do you mean double factor? So maybe you, Lamin Mane, or Larry Sise can become flag bearer for UDP and we can move forward. Are you out of your mind? We are with Mr. Dabo. We are loyal. He's our party leader, a flag bearer. You will not drive a wedge between us and Mr. Dabo. We told him that. Larry was present as another person. So this man is conflicted. And now he makes his coalition about him. It's not him. He's just a mediator. He was not the person who convened this meeting. He's not in the assembly. He's not a flag bearer candidate. But he turned this against to be him, saying if anybody who doesn't want to, they can go. Who is he? Who is Martin? A conflicted individual whose only agenda is hate against UDP. We are not going to keep quiet anymore. We have been present there. We've been respectful and we've been very quiet about certain things. You don't want to discuss what happened in there because that should be confidential. But if he goes out to say nonsense, we'll reply to him. That's what it is.
Isa apono manika kauro karing ke nanyini kar polo milke anini kar labo puru ibajalo ko bajo manyo fana so ke multi we have member carry the coalition discussion
ni coalition discussion birim bitaje nina parti sitale ka kacha ko ye silo bulanye al tale kacha al beji ni ne kacha laje kon to lafta binela parti le coalition wa coalition mi yalo ko parti lo ba nyato kaya ni o parti nyato kaya woni be candidat sambana pour flag bearer comme nata UDP na raso ko ak flag bearer di sen da wala kala flag bearer kan wona flag bearer bari programme o nyimbe be yinkela ko ka coalition na programme o le coalition be le programme o dala na implement comme man la fi candidate led la because candidate led wala mbulandi ñu kon be min kono bi aro baro be ni UDP le ikay resign a resign adara ka candidate led a wulta fa son parti lo kunta yalla commencer ntol ko hadi la parti led la Isseu Dabo la UDP le ay coalition lead la programme da for the coalition o programme be wala lole non to taro kachal yo wala sembodin biso li jela matana ko mala parti led la fa candidate led la mi yalo ko me bol tombo na mi yalo ka a resign la parti yoto ay coalition nyaato kay ko to li ba e min dinna sembo min dinna wado makili so dati je ko rek me murla tan la parti yoto nga fo min be keri to wala mutan dara na parti yoto ko to ala sembo min dinna ani ñu kamin kacha bi mankili so la da mursanan yan sural kamin fo bo de xawa fo jëm nga delu fi nga joggé intane fo man tarna lo ko rek mursan not yen min dinna semboti biru sembo falinta mursa parti ko nga foye e dine atula yin sembo dinna e min dinna ñu kamin kacha bi do mankili ale mu ne mi raje ko ñali fo mais press conference kala na ko yindi wala wala in press conference bi so butum bi officially mbota coalition to le saybe safena kay tan dila ko tol dati je ko tek okay bari mbam ben coalition lo kan ne say ben ta lo kan la commencer la foka ba al baji la patul min alika lanka okay question la baw bunat na Martin ke sa coalition la dia mulat Martin ko le nga to modun kay ke coalition la dia mulat bi ak dia mulati Martin nataka wutu amantiling
male atombo ni ko atole atombo
ntolu
bola atombo mo
kafo milbe parti milbe coalition diamola kafo le bijane movement tolu walle mo dan tan tombo iko kacha samandir la ka mediation committee o mediation committee milbiye mbalo ka fa professeur mbalo Modou Diba Ibrahima Ba and Martin. Ibrahima Ba was the secretary. Modou Diba was the man behind the scene doing all the hard work, the heavy lifting. Mbalo was the chairman and spokesperson. So chairman and spokesperson Masambano, the spokesperson Tatabul, Nadi Martin. But Martin nada kamota man killing. Kato Martin la agenda munati ka UDP kele. And it is not here pour ka coalition mediation pour ka mol ka si ka pol so ne mol tem. Ite manya ni mol tem pour que temo da. Ibika la moka. But Martin lata mol ka UDP kele. Martin lata teni la resiste be sire mo nani. Ute la resiste ani mo do tato fo. Ana la ko nyego ha ni coalition ka ta kule bari nyanta so do factor nyanta wala jubel. Nka so da factor nka wala munti. ha Usainu Dabo nyante fanal sai ite tambi ite Lamin Mane wala la resisi ka ko rebe kendere ton la parti de Usainu Dabo na flag bearer Usainu Dabo mimma la fi wala ta ku do jure ite dum ton Usainu tema ali ni ka ko Usainu mol temo tiya akana je ka ku ko taw fa moli do la ta la bu be ko di Usainu la ati ku na ton Usainu tema kay ne xamul ya to wuliyata ko al so kese ni la me kala ko yulu fono mbar ba fi take da ka diam na to nyaf mo na lumbe keri Martin mo kuru wonati is conflicted ala e tedam ko UDP kele kan Usainu Dabo kele niama la diam mo fon tajim fola kala fi ta non sen sol mi fola de ka jabi bi andu mam pare folo
but Martin manke political party leader Martin manke movement
me wala
so Martin ko nyata nyaadi I mean full phone law discussion because Martin na jelo no ay initiative do ke no ako
nanga demande foy Martin janni bi yamul start la fon yalla ni bi coalition diamo Malik Camara ni la ADD wala ñu commence andum be jayila baake kafi ya kafa baake e ko di badu ndije ngat mo ko de ka chapu ban ko la ko mo ko mandi binanan ko ñu ko ni parti fana invite la fa ni kay okay I more be invite fana invite the first meeting Usainu Dabo le delegation lead Usainu Dabo Alaji Dabo and intent to let meeting. The first 3 or 4 meetings for Usainu Kana every meeting. Then another five say it for the back for it bigana it for your sign to continue.
So ubla ko ma da ba.
Yeah.
First and second and third.
Yeah.
For party leader be kana ba.
No.
I mean a party leader like UDP.
Yes.
Bokata common di follow kata.
Yeah.
Ay dam. Waya tan diko ay xamu men so ka ko solo.
And I more respect nyami.
I more fana.
I more bunya nyami.
Anu ko tan common di follow kata ay dam. Sabanyo kata ay dam. Was 𝒂𝒂𝒏 ko other movement so and other political party wala nyaba ko kata jere ba.
Mo dan tan benu je Malik Camara benu jere wat yen every time. Okay. Et ça fa na fana na tawol to. Ading juba ko teke ya ngami raw damale Ibrahima Tabora Mane fana nata adan taw dol min to mal mo man na ko de be kam wala kina. Okay. So bring sama njaw ba tan ka ko sai ba ñu dolu kanana ite fana yefo sant mo continuer so ntebe nun je nka ka la rena la ranka ko la rena ta la tanka to ka represent di. Okay. So meeting follow nko pour ñu ay tanu nyama mo kana so bi mo la katulin UDP ya jato ka dabal ha UDP ila agenda na to ila tawol dum do fana ta agenda la ko sai nga molta mi yalon ko i mantara parti ko mi yalon ko si keno molti tili moltema yen temo fo yen temo da wuri kala jumade molu manta parti kon. Okay. Bare na mitim follow e sa fal ko nyeko mbalo na be abe EPP sobe yal anka ore atakelo mediation ko tarno la je kata be parti ko esa fallo
Ako like the commission from Boni, the head of the
mediation team mbalo
ako mo sobe abe EPP sobe isa mbalo
so nka ko no to kedo so mbalo ko hani esa lente invite drong bare manta EPP so yanka are you sure ko ha ka bismillah so ko sanji man fana bi jamil man ta parti kon na Ibrahima Badji no to bulandi je the second meeting len mordi banata fana data bulaje aning Martin bring ngawli je nge bulandi je ko sa ba so man ta parti le jam alto sin tema len temo fo na parti su ka ta betaya so fuma nge tange ke nyaton ko tije ba mbalo be je first meeting ni sonta ko mbalo si keno atisiki fonkoti chairman of the mediation committee so tumo momba si atak chairman and spokesperson bari biring modol nata ngo saying auto spokesperson ngawdi modol so kata wala nyam so Martin ke spokesperson because mbalo kili spokesperson and chairman amasa mbalo ko ngadi spokesperson table ngawdi Martin bari nam to lamiro Martin betil na molte mal bari Martin man na tiling Martin na take molti mi yalon ko ay UDP no sen no anda tandi molal to la fode braku ga usenu bondi nte walla la re tambi ka UDP nyaton ko tin kay man kende to na tele pour ka usenu ken na parti li ani flag bearer and the candidate and president of the country ite kunna ni usenten. Okay, so bari pour tambi tawal yeta bula mol patiol temo fola pour que patiol kambe coalition ke kala fo parti do ko Allah la nyato ko bondi yalla mo do sindi on de kuruya bari mam pare ka diam no bir be deri jim fe ala filto bi kadiamu ka ko kun tamal fala de franci ta ka jaaj
bara atamatin fere ni folo ko akoni impact ni ADB le ko lesono ako UDP le fama ako UDP la initiate UDP la ba koma ako manaf kadiamu bare say UDP in fact initiate bo for be UDP la ba koma UDP diaspora something like that. I mean, what do you have to say about that? Because these are heavy allegations towards him.
Wala foye ko kuriyale foye bere malik benyil kela malik na na sita jan sinya fula na mitio soto jan akala sa ninga kacha burga do ko kanyo
Malik na ratul kam.
ha asar patil be ka wala nyam tol dam mante na sita jan na kacha haji suwane be oto ani malan juma ko tege mo saba na la mo sita jan bara atara patil be ka wala nyam killing ke be invite na coalition of okay na kamben malik ala ko be ke ay letterol safi ay mobe invite ko bara al nana du kare karu coalition UDP damante coalition ma sembo so ja ko malik epex invite le seru ni epex mi jamol birin seru di fana invite bi nana dara useni nga fa useni ko jalta mo ko la coalition na kacha son tare ka ko masul nya so malik la ala coalition de la malik le mo invite so kasika fa malik mu UDP la dia Martin la kuru yalla mu don ko Martin ni ngal don ji ko na safa be fala kankan wala Martin be UDP comme min ka watana ya long bari Martin la ko ngama ba lon jet aye dey ni wota nin diamuta aye dey na lo mbakel ate malo control ngalo nyal la fa aye dey.
So say the other coalition talks member carry and Apex name others. But now understand that all the coalition Yamul will take UDP, new commander of UDP Kedamko. So for new other coalition talks member carry, bring Albino ADD, Yamla Dol will they are stop level. And also now understand that PDYS for a one Gambia coalition. For that one Gambia coalition, for the UDP Malba form of the UDP.
Not if UDP tema kalam, but ma left the UDP. And if the younger Makalam tema kalam, so ma left the UDP. Bare sa yam tembo bintu manta mo coalition to protect ben tale lo nta na wala commence be wala lo say okay apex sanji kilin nim fembe dia mo la je kumo bambanno okay la kata je bar kumo bambanno manta no blan min tafal wala kala ba in do yo fananta malika la coalition dia be to commence ya hajaka bu so sa mbota je mais façon tal dans la sign façon coalition de la sign so nimili mo miracle won because what si miracle kila fana coalition on yalo coalition no man kolea fo we no kola wala kolea na example kirin dir yankuba dabo nyede nga support nu pour become a consultant ya lo ko be gajela je bare din gajeta mimma kamandina do lafta wala no yankuba dabo ta bi aman kenfe biringa ta agaya ka tamandi jam la fa wala no nin coalition fana coalition man ko la fi coalition ko la ninga nyeta nimilu sila no ka banko do ku sulata wala man la fi wala ko lu sonko nin kelol be banko tan sora jaw bale nin bako sora jaw bale matarna dami do ku bale be nyaato to ku ya bale be nyaato so nim wala fa do ko le bien ko nisi do ko kelo ni bako kuma ka la fa wala bare mo le ko ni be sila ka tu lu sonko lu woni kelo masula wa ani coalition diamo la banta wala jela je mo man biya mo folo ba ko kan nya mo folo ka même ministre jumal soto la même masal jumal soto la ko auto la place no fa la tabunel
so more there were political parties and movements that we are on board. Will not focus is need to sonda milero kele mute and then man ka do ko fe
e place ol be talanta na fo ye bandi e ko UDP ministry war GDC ministry saba APP sobe yaning UMC ministry fula intol be ministry kile samta ta ministry tan saba nim fe
so leadership do
nim banko ndew
sa leadership
du ko ministry ta ko do dum fuarol ka fana okola ambassadeur janet malam jasuto la malbe kala kunta yalla bi je
banko kude
dol ko entro na sami nga banko kan la nyame nga ke folo ni nga mbandi wala usina ku do mira Okay? Coalition na le to nyal mo be nyanta fenso la jeel. Bari o nyanta kala later fenso to je in the sense that ministry pour banko doku. Not fenso kan fan doku kan yela jibo fandi. To date won. Si fenso to je pour place to je pour banko doku. Bari nata ya no. Bari ni mo te coalition kala mi ya lo ko sama ila la kelo kense wala isa ko banko doku na manga to kelo. La fina coalition lo ngani banko doku la to wala. Nko me banko tara sora jaw bale bi banko kan ko le ambe nyim banko kan ni nga fu dol fo bi mo sa ñew wulo bi ka be fono e tuma bale fo bar bi ka be fono son tol tit muti tambino wala men dawale kala san kan coalition lo fo banko sabaga bo ni mar jaw ko ni wala ko
ya après ka bagay ko tuddu ka mané mare ko da media house from belori e da fe ni kaja
okay
attention do badu wala mu lami maneti alfon li aja nyamen ay kumo nyinta ay be bondi nyoko ay jamu nyinta jamu be bondi nyoko so so guys, so we never carry down. Yes, come over here. The National Youth President of the Democratic Party, Ajiswane, the party leader of the Democratic Party, Alaji Hussein Abubakar Mulukindadabo, and then I mean, I can go to the UDP double any information on this news, how do you take it?
It's really it's welcoming because it shows that the UDP we are focused on coming after Yamin Kadunko Kungoladro, Kadunga Konaling with good faith level. Kadunga Konaling and Senwola. So Ninga Kolje Tamala Kurkola Mealongo, Abena Tiaro, Gambedungola Somala, in Gambedungola Somaleta, Moleka Pisantele, Namfasun Kunkina Kunafata. So UDP la Pinto in Konola, I mean the Olympic Menja Bekachakanje, a mantra taken on good faith. And now I'm taking on good faith, Abemen Wulaje Soma sitting, Molebekela Gambedungola Batati. So Wobatakur Wulatuna Nandabo Ligi. So if it is in the interest of Gambian people, it is highly welcoming. Because the military coalition is a perception. But coalition is not necessarily does not necessarily mean that coming Falingo Tekeno. Falingo me along ma Niningang, Milifta ko, 2026 ma Keno and Nabakal Fana. Kamoltang Alafanyo Kang, where may go Kurunga, I take them Dedumola, Udip Masakunda is always ready for inclusivity. Mana, Lefta Mobile Dablala, Falingo me along Kabenaka. But regardless of Latola Nyawanya, in terms of Mul Fanayana Nari, Ikalafika Patio Nina strength in Taka Doya, because Omuna Karial. And Sirifo, corruption Adam Mempo dishonesty, is highly part of corruption. Nila Takatapale Momo, Lataka Momo Mealongo Nakarentulamu, Moni Mealonko Akalafika Alakoltaman in dishonest pillar. So Yinatuna, UDP Malafika double Kachakonla, Mealonko at a Konyan Miss what the political cover Bangkokam, Amalafika reality in accept. So Teladiamo answer in short, we welcome it and it is going to energize, increase, the energy of the UDP or the effort of the UDP towards 2026 presidential elections.
Yes, Lindo Kamane Kachada. I come at Gulf from Gokul and Barandibat. Ako Colisono, Yato government of Monfolo, it will be a cool on Nakam for my ministry Kalam, joint ministry Kalam. Haji, Oko, Ilo Moyo, I'm Mira Ledila.
Bring I am the Gilele because need all Kachatali, Nain Gamen for Atalo, a lot of Colison of Gambia interest Sabang, while I do Colison in Kame Alonco, Albal Kunkina Kule Sapa. Amara member to go, in Colmu intersolid, Nikadukola, Ekadune Pudupan from intersol Soto. Our intersol bullet drive come forward. I don't know, but that's not UDP. UDP Mugambia Dumola Patrioti, Nintel Kadun Kokun, Kalafika Dumakola, Gambia intersol Sap. Nintel and Yosaba Damuta, yes, it's true, power sharing is always normal in any partnership. But the nigga power sharing for follow, the car follow, like a moment represent. e ko le kolea dal suute yela kolea kol suute ya lon ko munesi bonna kon la ale kambe ngol to ko kadal manke particular multi al manke kafutil multi so allow difference in terms of those policy issues al nyanta ko le reconcile no folo kay tammi nya to ko cement ke concrete kay tan ko nyinde ni nata me nyine keno la ale ko communicate gambe ngola senia but instead of itele na we okay de ila kambe be men bambandi men ko mi ko jumale be kala minister karete parti jumale minister del sotola ko itel ko 2021 2016 kay akamundo ko drong that government was like a UDP government ya fam so ngoy ko la wala mu to nyati atel ka wo même fo nata 2016 kila UDP government so nyindo atel on difference la me alon ko même na la different nat la 2016 nyindo tema do 2016 menga mo problem ko la wala mu dis candidate lead issue atel the same problem na ko reke and 2016 the same power struggle wala da 2016 ya problem so muna na atel la ko system ki on ta carry fit correct instead of addressing it in the interest of Gambian people, all of the issues affecting Gambian people. But fentable la siripo be mem forola, fentable la benjabinola, e kamen problem to ko ali nga try because it tell ko UDP player double in kokorola. You understand? So they want to do everything possible for kajo ko UDP to be eliminated from the system and UDP mantra more compete. We are not competing people, we are not competing parties. We are facing the realities of the country, kajo ko me yalon ko be kerimbi, that is the maladministration yalon barobat atamanikan the corruption. No, the inaction against corruption, the non-political will to bring us a new constitution, to do reforms along civil service and public service reform, security sector reform. Those are the issues UDP is interested to address. It's not about who want to be the minister and who want to be a permanent secretary or an ambassador. Those are normal because if you have a government, you must have people serving in that government. And if you are partners supposed to be assured if I am competent, merit-based competency, and based on integrity and ability, people are going to be appointed based on that one. But I didn't get the Sirfo Asoko, you are going to be the Minister of the Attorney General. Understand you did not have the merit or the competence in you. I'm failing Gambian people. So you don't want to fail Gambian people again. There was a lesson learned in 2016. We don't want to repeat the same lessons now as Gambian people another problem for Sirfo.
Martin, you mentioned Monko, I care a catute. I get coalition of catute in the Diamland. Naje, a company back, UDP come. I mean, what minimum taroti?
Preconceived minds, they have them before entering in the coalition discussions. Most of the personalities I saw there, I know their positions and against the UDP, and I know it's going to be very difficult for Martin Yul to accept the realities. Martin is a brother, he's a comrade, he's somebody who, we see a lot of things together. But the reality is Martin don't want to accept the realities that UDP is today. And they don't want to address issues based on things that are possible, and they don't want to address things based on honest, views that UDP is going to be the vehicle. If anyone wants meaningful change in this country, that UDP is the one that's supposed to drive it towards that change. If Malafo accept, and remember UDP like it will obviously lead you to emotions, and those are the sentiments and emotions you are seeing from people like Martin. But like this coalition, we know a lot. We know there are movements, almost 9 movements, non-political registered party. They are paid by the UMC. They have been supported by the UMC to come there so that they can infiltrate the system since it is going to be majority carry the vote. Remember, a political party registered, having structures, bureaus across the entire country, having grassroots structures in every village in this country. You want to give that person the equal right who has fulfilled their obligation at the IEC, who has fulfilled their obligation at the national level. You want to give them the same voting right to decide on anything, that political party is going to have or decide with somebody who is only seated before only a mic, the same equal right of voting. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not justice. That's definitely a dishonest, position that you wanted to, share the same right between people who shouldn't have the same right because I still obligation on the UDP are fulfilled. Bureau across the country, UDP are fulfilled. So somebody without that reason may fulfill no. You want to give us the same voting right. That is not fair. That is not fair, absolutely. So some of those things they are long, UDP is not going to accept them. Together with let's say governing council, when you have a government led by an executive, but by the constitution, the constitution says executive has their discretion to do things, in accordance with the constitution. But you take know that you are not going by that. You are coming to establish. Yes. Governing council. Kajo president me along kanala cabinet beji. Eya wolta yesembo nyin ta barakitabo mendila. Yata yadi kafukoten na me along gole nyanta ko wola sembo nyin nala bankola luaye sembo nyin ala primary ro kala karola. Wo council wo governing council na marawola. Wala mo ko demo ibi lafta ka bankola marada kitabo ta ka tinya. Wala Mr. Dabo ya faja. Akunya ya tibanta 3 years jot na nyin na kola. It is because among on moral grounds alone, but it is in line with the constitution call. The president resigned. There must be a vice president who's supposed to take over that presidency. You understand? So, and the vice president will take over. There is nowhere you can say the vice president also should resign, because not resigned. There is nothing in the constitution. You have to call for election. So, if you have to call for election, who is going to communicate to the IEC to call for election? There's no constitutional provision I provide. So, if there's no constitutional infrastructure, there's no mechanism, there's no framework. If the president resigns, the country is going to be in an anarchy system. You understand? That is the reason why Mr. Dabo went in for the 5 years, because 5 years mechanism and the election 5 years mechanism and IEC election conduct the 3 years did not. Yes, indeed the 3 years. I think if I'm not mistaken, section 63 of the constitution, or section 65 of the constitution, I don't know, 65 or 63 of the constitution says the president can resign willingly. Or not unconscious, afota hakilola, mana amamara roke no kotek as resign nole. Or willingly not as resign nole. But who not resigned, the constitution says the vice president should take over the presidency, and within 3 months that vice president should call for election. You understand? So new mechanism belaringe wo nyama. Nito ko new president yanta resign. You understand? So not resign the signing. Who is going to take over the presidency and call for election within that 3 months? Because if the president is to resign, his entire government is supposed to resign. Now, resign, then you don't have any mechanism constitutional framework election. So that means that the vice president will be continuing with the rest of the term of the presidency. So this governing council issue also is the same thing. If you establish a governing council, you are going contrary to the constitution. And contrary to the constitution means that that particular leader is deliberately violating the constitution, and that can be subject to impeachment. You understand? So that's a deliberate action. So the Malaf can double up is going to be unconstitutional. Malaf can double up Marocco Soma as Gambia Dumulano another problem called Sirfo. That is the reason why most of these people they are angry because we always want to put the constitution of the Republic of the Gambia forward and the Gambian people first to ensure that any governance system is going to be in line with the views and aspirations of those Gambian people. Sirfo.
Thank you so much. That is Haji Swan. Thank you. Yes. So, yes. Finally, Honorable Kante Atlemu, the Secretary for the Youth Wing of the Democratic Party. Kante, if I don't pay the BMO busy delegate, barring fellow Russian to the country. But the party leader of the Democratic Party, Alaji Hussein and Adiamta, how can you pay that on the coalition Diamo? UDP, I mean, UDP that on the day. I Hussein is reasonable for I deliver for Matney, so far, in quick summary, what is your takeaway from the entire coalition building?
Well, coalition building, come in divergent view, one model Juma, candidate led, party led. Okay, until a view me okay, new model or test, it failed you. What is the essence going back to the model? We candidate led Tesla in 2016, and the candidate led failed us. Okay, in 2016 we want another model. Coalition builders another model trainer. Yeah, how is that going to work? Okay, Nina Moiroge like some party leaders Nina party candidate led trainer. You're going to come with strategies, there's going to be strong mechanism, Marita move, no like, come on. It don't take president already moved president as candidate led. You go even under control after Luai, same word as the president, you go even control Kuodola. It doesn't make sense. So, policy cannot be a wait to warrant or a constitutional waiting. If the president goes, yes, resigned from the party, move back to my party. Anyway, policy go, you cannot go back to your party or whatsoever. What sense does it make? So signing okay, candidate get a sign. A candidate led Tambende. Another coalition of another party moves. What will be their take? So but Nina and party led, okay, Nim party led akira UDP or any other party mianonka nyatonka new nyatonka nim party dolada ka yela support the yela everything be diala. They go back to the negotiation table. That's where respect will come. Even in terms of because in Tata another is power sharing problem. That's the bottom line. I want to be the driver. Ninka driver, I empower my party. Simple. But nim party led nada now. Yes, all party is empowered, but the consent will be there. Then I will give them also their due. So certain influence be able you will not do. So to me, I will even prefer party led because dunia to femba minkake is party led. After all, Ninkoku felt that you blame the party directly.
What's your guarantee? You guarantee you're going to candidate later. Other political party supporters, like a bigger political party supporters, will support your Congo.
Well, yeah, to me, yes, Kusenu is the right candidate to win the 2026 election. Nimol can be a winnable candidate or electable candidate or the third word. Third force. Okay. Winnable candidate, electable candidate. Hussein is the most electable candidate so far from 96 to 2026. Reasons are very clear. Na statement on from former IEC chairman. Na statement on from the former president himself. Jamme Brata the 2021 election. Na I mean for. So I can vividly say out of the 5 elections Hussein Amin contest, I am strongly 100% assured Hussein won nothing less than 3 elections. That's my conviction because the data show it. The statement show it. If only a compact statement alone is a vindication. Hussein is the most electable person in the Gambia. He's the most winnable candidate because Parti 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏, UDP the Malakalo, the Alliance Barrow, 8 political parties. Let's go to the National Assembly. The same party, they won 15 constituencies. You as a sitting president, you won, I think, 19 constituencies. The sitting president with the opposition, we are the other opposition, we have over 20 opposition parties. A single opposition party, I got 15 seats, neither to the local government election, and in the sitting government, Talale Babino 4-4 out of 8. Party Dole, where are the other electable people? Where are the other winnable candidates? Do they have the base? Neither council election, UDP have more than 50 elected councillors.
But you say, Nico Karimu winnable candidate. Will have Nagara Coulson Diamol, winnable candidate.
Yeah. Well, there you go, social media Diamol law. Currently, I saw another post. Election is between X and Y. So, well, I just laugh. I know Fanene Kumolo, social media statement alone. And after all, Gambia voters, real voters, don't know what happened on the social media. It's only few % of the youth fall. The same people post are the same people posting today. So, the number of Gambians using social media generally is less than 5% of the population. So that 5% of the population, how many people are into this talk? Is less than 1% again. So that 1% cannot tell the people. For example, certain candidates be near 12 for Jumale. Certain party be near Jumale. They can't have a base. So the reality is Abmanta Juturila. But because ika structural jibe, ika name la viralness in a jibe. What was that party able to do within these particular years? And let me tell you, UDP is the only party to maintain for 30 good years. Yemina Gambela opposition, yaba Koliari Nyame. 30 good years in Jamaica for 22 good years in Baruba for 30 good years. Is the only party who can take that long hardship. Party TM Takena, we've all seen Mama Kanda for 10 years. You cannot sustain. There's no more Jeleba blame plan. No, it's a financial constraint. You cannot sustain the party. Other parties along the line will all happen the same way. NRP cannot sustain the party. They have to join Citizen Alliance. Nakeba, he cannot sustain his financial problem. It's only UDP militants. So,
but it's like because they cannot sustain. So it's like these people, they build political parties for themselves.
Yeah.
Because look, you cannot make people to follow you. You already put a boss of the money. How do you say that is
so certain political parties are briefcase political parties. Because nimu party na don't call it, there are opportunities for me. Nim coalition diamond even though more 10 be come, more 100 be come, even minister position or so, ambassador position or so. So it's just like BB in the Bodajare, that another party form is registered with IZ, Basirina so on election or another media. But we've seen party me along like a candidate in all the media platforms. Where are the other people? Executive member, a spokesperson, a PRO, a admin secretary. You don't even know their executive name. You can walk across all media houses. Continuously. For party biology for oh, they cannot sustain it. So the baseline is you think you are big, this and that and that. Hey, even me, I'm not a presidential candidate, but don't be any be. It's a good for me. Thank you so much, Honorable Kante. Thank you.
I'm good to talk to you. So, Madam Alabarka Bake, Bidum, Alaji Nyaming, Bolo Nyama, B. The Democratic Party under the leadership of Alaji Ushenu Abubakar Dabo, BLM, your press conference of Commanding Manja, Birotan, Kanaka Kachakula, Mayalonko, Willem Coalition 40, Kanaka Kachakula, Willem Coalition 40. So, Kachang be Alain and Bindu Kacharakono. But if Kachakola, Nimol Kachata, Mulmelialonko, Wilmu Alpha Leti, Patiokono, bearing Lavin Mane Mayalonko. Amumoti Mayalonko, Adabe Mulkono Mayalonko, Wilbe Diablo Kono. I think Hayuswan Mayalonko, Atlem UDP National Youth President, the funding president. I think Abubakar Kante Mayalonko, Atlemu, funding Atlem, the Youth Secretary of the Democratic Party. So, new old day Kajasoro Jan. The funding Honorable Molam say for just a short brief because Kiang West, Nyanda Kataje, New Weekend. Honorable, yes. Honorable, yes. KOS, because it is Gombe coalition local. But for you, make KOS the Malapolo. KOS the command rotor. Echo I, then Kianti, I, then Kianti. So, Honorable, KOS. Yeah. In Simido, the part of the command rotor. Allah command rotor, Ayamra, Allah. How do you anticipate? How are you anticipating? I go calling. Iba mira kanyadi, opati bekele nyadi, wo bekele nyadi.
Omu benyon tangolti. But coming kaitan di banko molal dron ko membe kering anim kumol men kafo. Kien na kuoto ko a president wa silole di kien na. President wa kurangol di kien na. So kien ko sound tala. You know, womu nimbe ngomu odoro na kaitan di ko. Kiang hanimo ko man saw ka foko atata president wala because I still ole dinna oranta e kurangol dinna kiang ko yara nyantolo ni kiang ko yalla ne sila ko do ka bo damin kiang ko yara ne kurang ko do ka bo damin kiang ko be wala ni lafta wala na bi men to ten ke bal jama man rasul ko no be farol leto anin kun ko do taye muske bar mata jimi faro to science ya nyinin ka ya fay sila ko do ka so bo min tole anin kurang ko do ka bo min tole kiang ko be fole yayin ka munanna hanibi president ngi silo diatol la waranta e courant della an kabi al fatala ba flen dalilo mi atne fatala yam man ke molun tan de politiko kon so ndolle commandro ke pour kata ka manifest kaitan di banko mol la ko here is UDP and they will forever be United Democratic Party because nyim patiyol be lorin silo kan ade nyim patiyol parti ndolla jiko do membe nyim banko bondel adu ndolla banko fankan hani mo membe parere pour ka United Democratic Party ma we cannot even disclose it. Personally, I have never disclosed that for Afelenga Kafos or UDP. But I have more than 4 or 5 Kafos, many along their football clubs here. In this country, they support United Democratic Party. But you never see a single picture or a single video. You will never see that. That will speak at the polls. Election what on social media kaitan ni molla and what a bannakiam so inshallah ya rabbi be fenjala ke namuna menje politiko kono forever ngo hanin tele dam my meeting of command party leader mantaje only national assembly member that crowd in Kiang will be more than president crowd in Kiang despite in motor more than hundreds of vehicles. And in public official if we call a United Democratic Party meeting in Kiang, that crowd will be more than his crowd. That tells you how United Democratic Party is cemented in Kia West. I tell you, please, but you know that. You know us. We are 47-1. When the entire country, including your Badibu, all the constituencies in Badibu voted for the former president, Kia West said no. That is us. And we are still that. What am constituency the Muhammad LK Sane Bota Daminto? That is the constituency Alajmo Sane Bota Daminto. That is the constituency Honorable Landim B Sane Bota Daminto representing Mansakongo Area Council. That is the constituency where prominent, politicians come from. I will not talk about myself, but to tell you that place is not going. That place is no-go area for anybody. Not even incumbent. For anybody, I tell you, anybody. For anybody, any village in Kiang, it's no-go area for any party except for United Democratic Party. So it's just that to go, kaitan ni molako, ngol ben notole, men ni ben bekafukama, yanyin kibaro mo ay kijori fala, pour kata ka proufuye. I cannot then dia modern mala social media, but to go out there, kaitan dila, this is the proof that Kia is not going. That's why we go in there. But if Kia
is not going,
Inshallah. Inshallah.
So easy like
No, at Sonia.
Don't worry,
Mono be sodale, yerenke mono. Check the settle be sodala. Gisma mono fa ekala ko fanana. Ofana be sodale.
No, Kiankoli.
Findo fana be sodala.
Kiankoli.
Mono fana be sodala bari bunkoli. So we welcome all of you and bari bunkoli nga Gambia be kumandi pour yena nyimbengo ya witness avec la whole day activities like kabirin somanda tulungol be tarra kedine kadun suwol kono nimmol ye kata. This is a real political program. Amanke kata du ne kata lo dama ka kuma bal fo kajanya amanke real political activity la munyente kadun suwol kono nim fo ninkewle kata nim musole kata nimmole kata hayamo be kala ku balle be je
même boga be kuma bala be program bala fo kante fo patiole ko do sika dialla bang albe ni event
ani
I mean I don't understand because you can even for that imagine boli mina nyame program la ni do we didn't care well okay we sato na lon ko ni muji faram ko talji bare na jogo care we fo la taka teta but fo patiole ko do dialla bang albe men dépense la bang fo nyaji la patiole yo fo fo mo
ka start patio man ko ni initiate because Bajana and Gifarong is a single pool. So Bajana Gifarong, so ila UDP will you organize Gifarong and Bajana combined. So will you organize ye fansas if only na flow dunda kunna, patioman any funding kaje. Patioman any butudi. One ko United Democratic Party last time na ngamen fonen kerfado. Merol menkata marse auto. Ika duties jo inin profit on infam buka say ini wodo man yom kase wala ka wakafu nyoma ka UDP defense. Do you know that mbenyum kumbo mbele ka fako dolla tiyo man san tiyo da man dia wodo man dingol me yasdo ika patio defense wala. That is how strong this party is. Walantina pour mo fair patio ni na ko leta battle. So wo mol wo local people ani la menni be diaspora wala kafu nyoma ye na flo kafu nyoma e benyum programme organize kam kamotol mobilize kamol amanje ko be mol bondila Kienda malto but kiendi ngobe combo daw drandinto ibe mutol fongol mobilize kan pour que bondi jam fong pour kata programme ñen
so because lo jamaje carte o ñini kien
e carte o ñini kien
so abako kiendi mo la ngol carte o ñini kien
wol fanan be pare ne pour kata programme
yes so it's like you come na the Kien United.
No, we just want to set an example, campaign strategy for 2026. Kia West abe start laje. Kuru ngaje ko this is the campaign strategy. The whole day. Some meeting on nyimfango lote jamfala. The whole day bebe kala sato o drone kono. Mo bebe dinna sato kono, katara suol kono. Italo na tantango be damento, italo na wuro ka kuma damento. Ngata suol kono, ngol mobilize house to house. Nimmo le tara kachaka. Mo talo na momo kontonta fuji mala kono. People are everywhere in Gifarong on that very much day. So please come and see a kind of politics that you've never seen before. No. Mbellala local people le na bungol kono ni bungol fata ngal bi jimba mbete landila na chiamano le ya.
Fa konta ñu lura isila de.
Ñun lu ngata kila sone lu sone.
Golu Aldo Dauda, Fundinjo Dauda in the diaspora. Support your MP, allow me for the event to be a very successful event. Ala baraka baga honorable. So I'm running moment yalongo. Maybe I've been program with Jibeka. Alafaka abulo anara mambo kiam, alafaka abulo fire. I mean, it's a Jumala number Dino, or maybe wave number, or maybe 4. Because UDP Kapalu UDP doing. So what is your take?
We have a local organizing committee,
Yes,
whose number we can always share. Nimmomo yalonko la fakat na sonoke. Ya call Lamin Sora is here. Lamin Sora me alonko. UDP be alonko since 1996. He is from this school. So anybody who wants to do that one can definitely link up Lamin Sora on this AfriCell, ala wave number 2910108. Lamin Sora is part of the organizing committee.
can you repeat the number again?
2910108. Lamin Sora. So ni momo laftaka you link or lafaka support, you can always call Lamin Sora. He will give you the contacts many alonko. You can wave send wallet for you to support the program. So those are the people you can support it. Please don't call me. But if you want to know more about the program, you called me, then we can discuss.
Support, they will call
No, don't call me on support. Call Lamin Sora on support and the organizing committee. If you want to know more about the program, you can call me on that. Ngakacha ngakilol fay nyo kangaji babe kala nyamin. So ngalbe kumandikia on Saturday inshallah rabbi.
Allah baraka baga. Ale fonsaji.